People always ask what I teach and train. They always think it's kickboxing, karate, taekwondo, but it's actually primarily kung fu. Which is why earlier this year, when I was given the opportunity to have my athletes compete in a new style, safe to say, it was out of my comfort zone. My dad said he wanted some of our top athletes to compete at the Ontario Winter Games, which is strictly karate. And I said, yes, Ebok, because, well, what else am I gonna say? I've done the Ontario Winter Games before, back in 2020, except it was for wushu. This was gonna be a lot different. First, there's kata. You'll need 5 minimum, all performed in a head-to-head elimination. Every detail is judged, from the angle of your foot to the presence on your face. These girls had only a few weeks to not only learn these katas, but also learn the intricacies that most spend years on. For Kayleigh, this was an entirely new style and competition. She's no stranger to competing at a high level, but the different stance techniques, pacing changes, and strict lower kicks was something completely out of her element. The week prior to the Winter Games, she took silver, utilizing a kata she had just finished learning. She competed against the best of the best in our province and came out with bronze. The second student we took was Hannah. She's no stranger to karate, but she's been plagued with injuries. She competes primarily in sport karate and has made a name for herself on the world stage. For those of you who don't know the difference, sport karate gives a level of flexibility in the movements and in the pacing. As long as the essence stays true to the roots, judges are mainly looking for the usual power, consistency, technique, etc. Whereas when competing in traditional karate events, you need to perform an approved kata from a list and ensure your movements are extremely accurate with absolutely no modifications. If you want to talk about tough, she spent the whole competition competing on a fractured foot and came out with a bronze. Kumite. To be honest, I don't know where to start with this one. From what I learned, you get points based off of specific movements. However, there's definitely a hierarchy on which strikes the judges decide to call. On top of that, there's no contact for U16. That was going to be a problem. Georgia May is our newly 14 firecracker that gives adults a run for their money in point fighting. She has competed and has come out on top on a world stage countless times. Georgia May is primarily a kicker, which is essentially non-existent in Kumite, where they lead with their hands and then kick, we kick and then hands if we need it. After doing some research, we decided that hooks and rounds were going to be her go-to, and we were going to use them until they stopped working. But guess what? They didn't. Now don't get me wrong, she came out with a boatload of penalties, and the gold. The main takeaways are, first and foremost, I'm so proud of my students and what they were able to accomplish in such a short period of time. The second thing is that I'm feeling so blessed to have my students compete in a different martial art at such a high level. It's very rare. And third, I think ultimately this experience has brought me closer to Kung Fu and point fighting. It's more my cup of tea. This week's shoutout's gonna be a little different. First, I wanna thank all my new YouTube community members. Shout out to Bo, Brooms, Brohood, Elijah B, and Ninja Kids. I'm so excited for the community that we've begun to build on YouTube. Thank you all for being there. And finally, I'm going to do my Patreon shoutout of the week. Thank you so much, Trinivas, for being on my Patreon page. I appreciate you all more than you know. I'll see y'all next time. Bye, everyone. You can massage, but don't like go crazy with rolling right now.
Scotch for your face.
It's the best I could do. The best you could do would have been just regular.